BeonTV UK, for the community, by the community. www.beontvuk.com.
বার্মিংহামের আশেপাশে কত মার্কেট আছে, ওরিয়েন্টাল সুপার মার্কেট সেরা সবার মাঝে। মাছ মাংস শাক সবজি সব তাজা ভাই, এর লাইগা তো বউয়ের রান্ধনে তো মজাই খায়। ওরিয়েন্টালে বাজার করে এত শান্তি পাই, হাকালুকি হাওড়ের মতো কারপার কাছে ভাই।
Oriental Halal Store, Coventry Road, Small Heath, Birmingham.
Hello, good evening and welcome. Welcome to the National Trust Blossoms Together project in Birmingham, this special program where we'll be talking about this project in more details. My name is Anam Choudhury. I work as the Community and Participation Consultant for the National Trust. I'm also the host of this show. Today we have with us two special guests who is going to be from the National Trust, who's going to be talking to us more in details about the Blossoms Together project, and also we want to talk about how we can engage with the communities in Birmingham and also across the country with the National Trust. So I would like to welcome to the show first of all Tom Grosvenor. He is the National Trust Senior Project Manager for the Blossoms Together project. Welcome to the show, Tom.
Hi,
Thank
nice
you.
to be here.
Thank you very much. Thanks for joining us today. We also with us Pamsmith. She's the Senior Consultant, National Consultant for the Gardens and Parklands for the National Trust. So Pam, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Really
It's great
nice
to
to
be
have
here.
you both here. Thank you. So as I said, I mean, we're going to be talking about the Blossoms Together project, and it is a part of the National Trust project. And as we all know, National Trust is for everyone, and it's a charity that was founded for the benefit of the people, and it's been running for over 127 years, isn't it?
Yep.
Correct, yeah,
127 years.
now.
So, Tom, do you want to talk about the National Trust a little bit more, what it does, and you know how it engages with the communities?
I can do. I'm Tom. I'm a Senior Project Manager working for National Trust. My role is primarily in Birmingham, and I look at our kind of urban strategy. So the National Trust, obviously, a conservation charity, looks after the nation's kind of built heritage, but also a lot of the nature in the country. But my role specifically is looking at kind of our urban strategy, so how we work in urban places. So that's my role specifically.
Okay.
And we try to reach out and engage with individuals and communities across, in this case, Birmingham, the city, to engage with the work we're doing.
Yeah.
In Birmingham, we have some properties, so we have the back-to-backs and Clent Hills, and we also have a property called the Roundhouse, which is in Birmingham, which is a collaboration with the Canal and River Trust. We don't have a huge number of properties in Birmingham, so we do a lot of work in partnership with community groups, with other organisations, to kind of deliver benefit for people within the city.
So the trust itself, it manages over 500 properties, mansions, isn't it, around the country?
It does.
And I've been to many of them, and it's a beautiful sight, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's something really.
There's over 500 classic mansion houses. That's kind of what we're known for, but we do a lot of work in the natural environment as well, a huge amount of work. The Trust's a large landowner, so it owns a lot of land, and works to kind of benefit of the environment. Pam might know a bit more about that than I do, but yeah, that's kind of what the Trust is known for. And we're less known for our kind of work in the urban environment, and that's what my role is predominantly doing, and also what this Blossom project is all about, really.
And that's why we're working with the BeonTV UK, so that we can bring that message out to the urban population in the country. Pam, you specialise in gardening within the trust itself, and I'm sure National Trust manages lots of gardens. Can you tell us a bit about?
Yeah, we have over 220 gardens. Not all our gardens are open to the public. So National Trust members, or if you look on the website, you'll see there's about 220 you can visit. But we have a few more that are tenanted that are open 3 or 4 days a year. So I'm the lead horticulturist and lead garden historian. So I work with all our head gardeners. We've got 101 head gardeners across all the gardens and advise them on restoration, on horticultural presentation. We obviously want our gardens to look as best they can be, but also we're managing them with nature in mind and with resource in mind, and at this time of year about being careful with the use of water. But we want visitors to really experience the gardens, and I think of all the trust assets, the gardens are something people can use for exactly what they're designed for. They could be 200 years old, but people can still walk in a rose garden. So that's what we want to present and what we want people to experience. But like Tom, we're trying to think beyond our garden gates and work with urban communities as well.
Brilliant. And we are also pleased to inform our audience at home that we are joined here by a number of representatives from the group called Robotti, which is a community garden group based in Birmingham, and is there are over 750 members within that group, and they are keen community gardeners.
Brilliant.
And I think they will have some questions to ask you later on, and also get some expertise from yourselves.
Great.
And I think that's the connection that we want to make through this program with the National Trust and the communities on the ground. So in terms of Tom, in terms of specifically, tell us about the National Trust relationship with the Blossom project, and how did it come about?
So it's being run for a few years. It's kind of a national program, Blossom, and essentially it's about connecting people with nature. But I guess in terms of the Birmingham project, what we really think about, March 2020, when the kind of coronavirus lockdown happened, people were forced to stay at home and couldn't really go very far. So the Trust had some stuff on kind of social media talking about Blossom Watch. So it was March, so the trees were starting to come into blossom. And so people were encouraged to kind of go out in their immediate locality, around where they live or in their garden, and just appreciate blossom on their doorstep. And that got huge amounts of traction. So lots of people on social media kind of retweeting and all that stuff they do on social media. And so that became quite a big deal for us, and so that kind of was the catalyst for sort of some of the other projects which we're doing. And so the Birmingham project has been primarily this year, although obviously we've been working on it a bit longer. But essentially it's about connections with nature, and blossom as this symbol of kind of hope and renewal. So every winter, when it's the dark days of winter and it's the long nights, and come into spring, it's getting a bit lighter, and suddenly you get the blossom on the trees. It's kind of welcomes you into spring. So it's that kind of symbol of hope and renewal. And also because it's fleeting, it's only on the tree for a month or so, and then it's gone. Somehow that makes it more special as well. It is. And then you wait another year for it to come round, but it's always going to come.
How many years has that Blossom project been running within the Trust?
3 or 4 years, I think. I'm not sure exactly, but around that time.
And it's happening around.
It's happening across the country. It's across the country. There's been some projects in London a couple of years ago, but this year the Birmingham project is the kind of flagship project. So in line with the Festival 2022 and the Commonwealth Games that's in Birmingham, of course, this year. That's been the driver. So the biggest project around Blossom this year for the National Trust is in Birmingham. Yeah.
And that's why we are here today to talk about the project. And I think one of the key aspect of the National Trust engagement is that it is, as I said earlier, it's about the Trust is about for everyone, and it welcomes everyone in its properties and also in terms of all the project that it delivers. So why was Birmingham selected? Is that, I mean, you've mentioned about the Commonwealth Games, the relations there. Is there any other specific reasons?
Also because Birmingham is one of our kind of flagship urban centres in terms of the work we're doing. So the work the Trust is doing in lots of urban places around the country, but the stuff we're doing in Birmingham is some of the biggest work we're doing. So in this city, we're at the forefront of some of the stuff we're doing. So and we as a team in Birmingham wanted to make something happen with Blossom.
Something special.
Yeah, so we kind of, as a kind of regional and a city team, have driven it as well, wanting to do something with Blossom in the city. And this year, Commonwealth Games, there's a lot of focus on Birmingham, both nationally and internationally. So it felt like the right time to do it.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So, Pam, I mean, from a gardener's perspective, how does Blossom encourages the community? How does it have an impact in the lives of our communities?
I think a lot of people's perception is that to appreciate the National Trust you have to get in a car and come and visit one of our properties.
Yes, yes.
And the Blossom is an example that actually there's something we're really passionate about that is quite often on everyone's doorstep. People may have a blossom tree in their garden at their allotment. There'll certainly be some in your local park and even as street trees. So it felt like something that everyone could appreciate. The blossom, as Tom said, it is fleeting. There are thousands of varieties of blossom trees. Obviously people are familiar perhaps with the ones like apples and pears and fruit trees, but you know, the Blossom Festival, which started in Japan, is really for the ornamental cherry.
Yeah.
So it's the white cherry and the pink cherry. And in Japan, people come out of the offices and celebrate and have picnics for that moment in time when the first blossom appears. So I think it's about people noticing what's on their doorstep, and that we've got, in a city, we've got such an amazing botanical resource. You know, every city is really an urban botanic garden. We've got more species of plants than you would find in our countryside. And I've lived in Birmingham 25 years, and I'm constantly amazed about the range of plants we have and the botanical heritage and the stories. So it does feel like something in any city, but you know, I'm really pleased it's in Birmingham. Everyone can spot blossom, and perhaps you may not have noticed it so much now, but hopefully after we've talked about it, next spring you will notice it, and it's everywhere.
I certainly have. So having worked on the project, when it was blossom time, every time I was in the car or walking around, I kept going, oh look, there's a blossom tree, there's a blossom tree. Driving my wife mad because I kept pointing at every blossom tree as we walked past it. But it really did bring it into focus. That I kind of walked past it before and hadn't really appreciated it, whereas now I was seeing it everywhere and really appreciating it, and kind of
And I
the beauty
think
it brings.
it does highlight the natural environment, isn't it? Even, you know, we tend to have this perception of urban areas as being very like a brick and you know, properties, but having those blossoms and recognizing those blossoms is really special for the communities. So what feedback have you had from the communities so far?
Everyone's really keen to take part. I mean, there was a temporary installation in the cathedral in March and through to middle of April that some people may have seen, where there was about 30 blossom trees just temporarily planted there. And people were sitting on the benches we'd created before we'd even planted the trees. And I think people just like somewhere quiet to sit. Is nothing nicer than sitting under a canopy when it's in blossom. And we know with the temperatures in cities, trees can really help lower city temperatures as well. So it just feels like a nice relaxing place to sit.
And do you encourage people to take pictures with the blossoms? And is there any platform where people can upload their experience?
Absolutely. So hashtag BlossomWatch was the national hashtag. And that again, so that was encouraged through the blossom season, and we encouraged it in the Birmingham planting for people to absolutely take photos with it of their trees in their garden, of them engaging with the ones we've had the pop-ups, as Pam mentioned. So we had a pop-up in 2 sites in the city in the spring, one at the cathedral, St Philip's Cathedral in the main square, and one down by the markets, the rag market in the back of the bullring. Again, that's been really popular, so they've had really positive feedback from the market traders, from people shopping. There's not much seating there, there's not a huge amount of tree cover, so actually somewhere to rest in the city and to have a bit of quiet time and a bit of contemplation has been really appreciated. So we've had nothing but positive feedback really about the project.
Talk to us about the team that you've got who's working on this project.
Sure.
You know, and what kind of what activities do they deliver in terms of the project itself?
So it's a very small team. So working in my team, there's a project manager and what we call a senior project coordinator. There's basically 2 people who are dedicated to delivering the project. And then we call on someone like Pam for her expertise, and there's a few others of us kind of within Birmingham who are helping, but essentially a team of 2 are delivering it all. So they're both delivering the kind of pop-up gardens, the blossom gardens, and then there's a legacy piece of planting, which I guess we'll talk about in a minute. But also we've been doing community events all summer. So they've been going out, they've been working 7 days a week practically. So they've been going out every weekend, every other weekend to community events around the city to promote the project, to talk about blossom, to talk about kind of our relationship with nature.
And there is a special route, isn't it? Birmingham.
There is a route.
Plus 11 route.
There is. So the concept of the project which really was Pam's idea, give it credit, was, so we have these pop-up gardens which are in the city centre for now, and they've been in spring. And now what's going to happen is during the Commonwealth Games, those pop-ups are going to go to the Smithfield site, which is where the wholesale markets used to be. It's quite very central, and they're going to be there. There's about 70 trees, I think, there. That'll be for the duration of the game. So within the site where people are going to watch sports, etc., there'll be space there. So the trees will be there for people to sit and again contemplate. And then the big legacy piece of the project is a planting scheme. So we are planting a new ring of blossom around the city. So where that comes from is that Birmingham was known in the kind of 18th century as a town ringed by blossom. So back when it was a town rather than a city, because of all these orchard gardens that surrounded the town, full of blossoming trees. And we've lost most of those with kind of urbanisation. And so that kind of botanical heritage we're picking up on, and to create a new ring of blossom, we're following the number 11 bus route, which if people kind of watching are from Birmingham, they'll know that number 11 is quite famous in the city. It's a 27-mile circular route around the city, the outer circle. And so we're using that as a mechanism for planting the trees all the way around.
You mentioned, Tom, I think it's a specific question for Pam. I think in terms of, Tom mentioned that we're losing a lot of trees because of the urbanization of the towns and our cities. Is there anything the National Trust is advocating on behalf of the environment, let's say, to maintain and keep our trees? Is there any kind of advocacy work going on?
Yeah, the Blossom Project, we've worked very closely with the City Council and the tree officers, and actually Birmingham's got a very good reputation for street trees and the range and how they look after them, as well as obviously all our parks as well in Birmingham. But yeah, there's people could look out for the street tree on their street. You know, they really need watering at this time of year. Sometimes the tree stakes get damaged. So, you know, if people could talk to the council about, you know, offering to look after their local tree. But also, you know, in lots of areas now, lots of people are paving over front gardens to create car parking spaces. And having lived in terraced houses myself, I know how frustrating it is that you can't park outside your own house. But all those little gardens in people's front gardens are so important. They're nature corridors, they cool the streets. You know, imagine your street without any trees on. You know, go to a street full of trees and it just looks instantly nicer. It looks calmer, it's more pleasant to walk and play.
It's cooler.
And if people can plant some trees or larger shrubs in their front garden, even a very small, you know, terrace front garden, so you've got your window and then perhaps a metre and a hedge, there are still things you can plant there. Certainly. And having a hedge rather than a fence will really help nature, and it helps all your community. You know, your street brightens up by having more greenery. And
I think Birmingham is an extremely diverse area. You know, you've got people from, I think, over 100 countries living in Birmingham, and they all come with their own expertise, own aspirations and likes for the nature.
Yeah.
Do you find the diversity of Birmingham an advantage for the Blossoms project in Birmingham?
Absolutely, I think so, because people want different things from the project. So lots of people want the trees, or to take a tree and actually have the fruit from it that they can then cook with and use. Other people just prefer it just as a kind of the ornamental side. But that's one of the great things. Why I live in Birmingham, and that's why I enjoy living here, and that's why we're kind of so happy to be working in the city. That diversity just makes everything kind of more interesting, and enriches our work that we're doing. Absolutely.
We wouldn't have the gardens we have. 75% of our garden plants are not from Britain. Our whole history, the National Trust manages gardens that show 500 years of garden design, and we wouldn't have the amazing glass houses, the amazing horticultural skills, the amazing gardens, without all these plants from all cultures and all parts of the world coming to Britain. And so we already have that multicultural sort of living plant collection in our gardens, and perhaps people don't quite realise that. And some plants I know as an English gardener, they will have a different name in the country of origin, and many uses. I may know them as purely decorative, whereas other cultures may have a use for them. And that's what I find really interesting to learn.
It is, and I think for my personal experience is that I've always worked in urban areas in cities, and when I first joined National Trust, and when I visited some of those properties and gardens, I felt like I was abroad, somewhere else.
Yeah, definitely.
You have this like holiday feeling. So I think we will really encourage our audience and the viewers at home to find out more about the opportunities that National Trust provides with regards to gardening and nature. You can Google National Trust and they've got a really good website, with clear direction and all the information around the properties they have and the garden that they have. So what's next for the campaign moving forward?
So the next, as I was saying, the next bit is Smithfield. So the Commonwealth Games is starting on the 29th, so not long now at all. And so the plants, the trees, the blossom trees, the pop-up garden will be there for the duration of the Games, which is 2 weeks. Following that, we'll then really kick into our kind of legacy piece, which is around the planting of this blossom circle around the city. So to that end, we are going to be giving away essentially over 600 trees to people within Birmingham. So if people live within a 25-minute walk of this number 11 bus route, they can contact us to get a tree. Completely free of charge. We're giving the trees away. We just ask that people have got somewhere to plant it and that they're interested in looking after it, essentially. Brilliant. So that could be schools, community groups, hospitals, church or mosque or gurdwara, or anyone that wants to take a tree, or residents. If you've got a garden or your neighbour's got a garden and you want to have a blossom tree in there, you contact us. There's an email address and there's a form to ask what kind of tree you want and where you are, etc. And then we will, throughout this winter, be providing those trees and also guidance with that on how to plant them and how to care for them.
Brilliant.
The only thing we won't be doing is coming and digging the hole in your garden for you. So do that yourself.
I think we can do that.
That's what we're providing the trees.
Yeah, and I think within communities, especially within South Asian communities, there is a great interest in terms of gardening. Most of the houses that you will visit, you will see fruits, various. I mean, my brother himself is a keen gardener, and we have a big garden. He's constantly spending time in planting new trees and things like that. And we have hundreds of people within our community who are very, very keen gardeners, and I think that's the connection that we want to make with the National Trust. Not just specifically about the blossoms, but generally, we want to connect with the communities who have an interest in nature and environment itself. I mean, so what we'll do is we'll go for a little short break, a couple of minutes break, and we'll come back and we'll talk about Pam's role in terms of gardening, and we have got a few questions that we want to ask you about how people can benefit from your expertise in the community. So we will be back within a couple of minutes, so stay with us, please. Thank you.
BeonTV UK, for the community, by the community. www.beontvuk.com.
বার্মিংহামের আশেপাশে কত মার্কেট আছে, ওরিয়েন্টাল সুপার মার্কেট সেরা সবার মাঝে। মাছ মাংস শাক সবজি সব তাজা ভাই, এর লাইগা তো বউয়ে রান্ধনে তো মজাই খায়। ওরিয়েন্টালে বাজার করে এত শান্তি পাই, হাকালুকি হাওড়ের মতো কারপার কাছে ভাই।
Oriental Halal Store, Coventry Road, Small Heath, Birmingham.
চোখ রাখুন, সঙ্গে থাকুন বিয়ন টিভির সংবাদে।
আপনি কি আপনার রেস্টুরেন্টের জন্য কমার্শিয়াল কুকার, তন্দুরি, হট প্লেট, ওভেন এবং ক্যানোপির বিশ্বস্ত প্রতিষ্ঠান খুঁজছেন? আপনি কি এই সকল সামগ্রী ইউকে স্ট্যান্ডার্ড সার্ভিস সার্টিফিকেট সিই সহ চান? তাহলে আর ভাবনা নেই। সুদীর্ঘ 20 বছর স্পেন, ইটালি এবং বাংলাদেশে সুনামের সাথে ব্যবসা করার পর এখন বার্মিংহামে খোলা হলো আমাদের শোরুম এবং ফ্যাক্টরি।
আসসালামু আলাইকুম। একটা ভালো রেস্টুরেন্ট এবং একটা ভালো ব্যবসার জন্য একটা ভালো কুকারের প্রয়োজন হয়। আলহামদুলিল্লাহ, আমি অনেকদিন খোঁজাখুঁজির পর বার্মিংহাম কমার্শিয়াল কুকার, যারা সিই অ্যাপ্রুভ, তাদের কাছ থেকে আমি একটা কুকার কিনেছিলাম কুকারটা অত্যন্ত ভালো এবং খুবই ভালো সার্ভিস দিচ্ছে এবং তাদের ব্যবসা প্রতিষ্ঠানের সার্ভিসটাও খুবই ভালো। আমি হ্যাপি এবং আমার কিচেনের স্টাফটাও হ্যাপি।
Birmingham Commercial Cooker Limited, Unit 69, Sydenham Road, B11 1BG, Birmingham. Phone number 0795 297 8136.
Hello, good evening and welcome back. Welcome back to this special show where we're talking about the National Trust Blossoms project, Blossoms Together project in Birmingham. We have two special guests with us, Tom and Pam from the National Trust, and we've been talking about the Blossom project in Birmingham and its inception and what are the key activities that we are delivering as a part of this project. We also have with us members from the Amravati group, which is a community gardeners group. It's made up of 750 keen community gardeners, and they're very much keen in working and learning from the National Trust and developing a long-term partnership with the trust itself. We have here a number of members from that particular group, namely Rashia Khatun. We also have Councillor Mumtaz Hussain. We also have Asha Ali from this group. So I would like to go to Councillor Ali, who is sitting in our audience, and ask Councillor Hussain to tell us a bit more about this group and what interests you in gardening and how National Trust can work with the group itself.
Hello. I've been a keen gardener since I can remember, to be honest. Alan Titchmarsh and all the gardening programs. I used to watch all the gardening programs. And I'm really into agriculture, fascinated by combine harvesters. But I never get to drive one. I'd love to drive a combine harvester. But things like that, I really like. I like the countryside. I like the planting. With our group, Amravati, what we have is that we share a lot of ideas to germinate seeds, when to put them out, when is the right time. And we share a lot of that in our group. We share a lot of vegetables, flowers. We have competitions on there. A very, very active group it is. I'm proud to be a part of it.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Councillor. Razia, you are also a keen member of the group. Do you want to tell us about how you got involved with the group and what kind of fruits or plants have you recently cultivated?
Thank you, and nice to meet you all here. Actually, Amravati started with a small community group, and from small community group, and we should say thanks to the social media. After, like, from the small community group, we used to get together in individual gardens and say, like, you know, how gardening can be done. And we used to sort of like do small parties in a garden instead of going to a park or somewhere to see who has got the beautiful garden. So that's the beginning of the Amravati. So after, like, you know, having like 10 or 15 parties in the 10 different gardens, we decided to open a page. And this credit goes to Mr. Shabul Choudhury. We call him brother, Shabul brother. So he comes with lots of ideas. It's amazing idea he comes with, because he's got the garden. That's where he could. It's a small, tiny garden, but if you name it, he probably got about 20 different flowers, apart from the seasonal fruit and vegetable. So he always looks after them so much like his own child. Someone said. So we got involved because I have been learning from my parents, like, you know, how to just grow vegetable in the garden, in the back garden. That's all I knew. But now, like, you know, getting involved with the community and the gardening, I've learned so much. Even though I sow my own seeds for the season, and the Amravati has gone one step forward now. We have gone beyond. So we have actually internationally known as well. So it's gone to Bangladesh, it's gone to America, and it's gone Saudi Arabia as well. So it's all over the world now. And nationally, like, you know, we have 100 and he said 750. I think we've reached to 900 now, 900 members. So yeah, so 750 was last year. So this year we got 900 members, like, who are very keen gardeners. They always post their pictures and they always try and put something in the garden page so that can inspire other people to do the gardening. And if we have the support from National Trust and we have the potential, we could do more. And if we could get some funding, we could do like botanical, if we had the resources. So we are looking forward to work with you if we get the potential. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Thank you for this wonderful comment, and I think your interest shows in your words. So I think, from National Trust perspective, Pam, do you want to say in terms of how we can work with groups like that on the ground?
Just sounds so amazing. I think having green fingers is the superpower. So all the Marvel stuff it's not about flying. Green fingers is going to produce food, it's going to produce shelter, shade, support the environment, support climate change. So it's great to hear there's 750 people growing things in Birmingham. 900, sorry, yes, I forgot.
900 now.
But it's interesting, it was my grandfather who got me interested in horticulture, and I did it from when I left school. I didn't go to university, I went straight into training as an apprentice, and I've been doing it now 36 years. So it's a great, as well as a hobby to feed yourself and your family, it's actually an amazing career to get into. You can be a garden designer, a landscape architect, you can be a historic gardener, you can work for a private family or a big estate, and it's really varied. So it's really good to hear that you've got 900 people gardening. We've got, as I said, 101 gardeners, 101 head gardeners. We have many kitchen wall gardens. We've got a lot of skills in our staff of growing plants, and there isn't one right way or wrong way. I'm learning a lot from allotment holders next to my allotment who come from different countries. I've been told what won't grow in this country, and other people grow it and it grows. So sometimes, the teaching I was taught isn't right now. But yeah, we've got expertise we can share. We can definitely inspire people with our gardens. And it would just be nice to start a conversation now as part of the legacy for Blossom, because lots of plants have flowers. Blossom is just one small focus, and it would be really nice to carry this on. And
Blossom trees, how can you get it in our community, like local communities? Because in our local community needs some trees, like the blossom trees in the street, because mainly our main roads are like residential areas, so we don't get to see any trees, beautiful trees where it's lined up and everything. But Omraboti is, our future plan is to plant trees here, and we still working on our project back home. We actually planted like about 20 institutions in Bangladesh, like where the deprived people and like mosque, schools and the other institutions like universities. So they are very glad and they're pleased to have more trees there. So what we want to try to do is like Omraboti to go there and plant some blossom trees, like because the blossom trees are hardly found in Bangladesh. So that's something like, can change the infrastructure of Bangladesh roads. So if we could get any funding or any help from National Trust, or like our members actually are very grateful helpers, you see. They always help us. Like the trees that we planted last year, the project, during the COVID, that was help from our members. They contributed so much, so we are able to do that project in Bangladesh. So we want mainstream to help us somewhere, like, we could actually exchange our plants. So because, we haven't got any resources, botanical resources to get the plants from Bangladesh, but at least we could do the blossom trees back there. So if we can actually work with you and get some ideas how to plant there, so that will be great for us,
Brilliant. I think, from a National Trust perspective, I think National Trust is committed to working with everyone really, and it welcomes everyone in its properties, and also in terms of sharing knowledge and expertise. And this is where Pam, before the show, she talked about, if she can help with any kind of advice and support for your group, she will be very much willing to do that. And I think long term as well, we want to work with community groups like yourself, and to have better connection, because the National Trust is, as I said, for everyone. So
I think I was just going to say, if people want blossom trees in their gardens, in the community, then that's part of this project. That's part of the legacy. So what people need to do is send an email to birmingham-blossom@nationaltrust.org.uk, and I think the email address was flashed up earlier on the screen, and they'll be sent a form asking them what kind of tree they want and all the information around how to plant it and how to care for it, and we will be giving those trees away. So if people want to have trees in their gardens, they can do that. Planting trees in the street is more challenging, because you can imagine in the road there's all the, the sewers, the electrical cables, the gas pipes, etc. And so, but that is something that the Birmingham City Council I know are looking at. So the Birmingham City Council have got a city-wide urban forest master plan they're looking at. And part of that includes planting trees in kind of the roadways. But that is one of the most difficult places, and Pam will know more than me, but it is one of the most difficult places to plant trees because you've got all the kind of other paraphernalia in the street and maintaining distances on the pavements people can walk past, etc. So that's not to say it can't be done, but it's tricky. Yeah.
But if there is an interest from the communities,
please
then
get
I'm
in touch.
Sure
Absolutely.
Get in touch. And as I mentioned, we've got local councillor as a part of this group. Yeah, of course.
I would just like to say, like, you call this project Blossom, and when I hear the word blossom, there's only one plant that comes to my mind, which blossoms before foliage. Does anyone know which one that is? Magnolia?
Oh, magnolia,
yeah. So magnolia always flowers before it blossoms, before it has foliage. Yeah. So that's a thought for you.
Great.
As a signature.
I like it.
In fact, we
Thank
did
you.
plant some magnolia.
We've got some magnolia, in
the
the project.
cathedral.
Yeah.
So it's very early as well. So often it's earlier than some of our cherry blossom, and the flowers are so big, aren't they?
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So I think you mentioned about legacy. I think what are the key specific legacy you want for this project?
Well, the very specific legacy is that we want to plant the 650 trees around the city. So that's a kind of key part of the project in terms of a specific legacy. But beyond that, we want to establish and then build on the relationships we're creating. So through the project, so saying we've been out and reached to community groups and individuals all around the city, and so we want to continue those relationships and build on them. So for our work as a National Trust in Birmingham, it's all about partnerships. And it's all about working with communities. And so this project's helped reach other communities, which, like today, with you guys and with the group, which we haven't necessarily reached out to before, this project's enabled that. So I don't want this project to end and then we lose contact with all those people. That needs to continue. So we're always looking for different ways to work with people in lots of different ways. So that's kind of the bigger legacy piece, I suppose, beyond just the planting of the trees.
And also providing that encouragement. I think a lot of the time people have the desire to plant, desire to engage with the environment, but if there isn't a platform, it's very difficult for those individuals. So what you're saying is that if people are wanting to be involved with nature and we are here, the National Trust is here to provide that guidance and support
and inspiration.
I
think so. It's not just about us kind of getting the trees out. Also, we'd hope to inspire people to kind of connect with nature as well. And also, we haven't spoken so much about kind of Blossom's benefit to nature and to pollinators as well, which is really important, which of course is fundamental to how we get all our food and everything.
Oxygen and stuff like
exactly.
that.
So that it has that benefit for nature as well as kind of us as individuals. Also, it's proven the kind of benefits to people's mental health from just being in nature. And maybe that's your back garden, or maybe it's in a park if you live in a city.
And there's also a spiritual connection to nature as well,
of course.
Because within different religion, I mean, if you look at Islam, for example, there's clear guidance within the Quran about spiritual connection. We have been made a steward for the environment and nature, so there is a lot of connection, the spiritual connection to nature as well, and which we want to explore further, and so that we can get more people encouraged to look after nature as well. So if you're looking after nature, inevitably will help us to breathe better, isn't it? So Pam, just want to specifically about the gardens. We talked about what people. So is there any message that you want to give to our audience at home? What can they do? If they have a garden in their backyard, in the front yard, what can they do to engage more with the nature and environment?
Well, I have mentioned that a lot of our gardens are very sort of high horticulture, and we cut the grass and we cut the hedges and we plant flowers out, a few times a year. But there is room to have really good gardens and actually benefit nature as well. So sometimes it's not about them being untidy, it's just about deciding which are the areas that you want to sit, and choose a nice place to sit that works in the morning for breakfast or in the evening when you come home from work. But also, what are those areas that you can allow nature? So at home, I haven't cut my grass since beginning of May. It's actually, because the dry weather hasn't grown very much, but all the grass is flowering and there's lots of bees and pollinators about, and it actually looks really pretty, much prettier than if I've been cutting it, and a lot easier. So it's about deciding which areas you can have for nature, timing when you cut your hedges, so you're not cutting them in nesting season, and we are still in nesting season now. So really we shouldn't cut hedges till after the end of August. And it's just about that balance, because it's nice being in a garden where you can hear the sounds of nature and things are happening around you. So it's about different sets of eyes, and sometimes some people may visit your garden and think it's a bit untidy, but it's about sharing with your neighbours and, you know, having things that, you know, nature will enjoy, birds will enjoy, but you can still get a lot of benefit from as well. Having watering gardens is really good, so even if it's just a bird bath at the moment for the birds to drink out of. I've got a really small pond and it gets lots of frogs in every year. We've got some goldfish in it at the moment, which are quite novel, and we've given them names, but we don't know which is which. So I'm as I say, I'm a gardener, I'm a horticulturalist, and I love doing really amazing hanging baskets and bedding steams, but you know, my garden, I do share it, and it gives so much pleasure back with the birds.
Yeah, and I think thanks for that, Pam. And I think also we talked about it previously. You talked about a career within available within landscape architecture. Do you want to talk a bit about that?
So I think I was quite unusual at school in that I knew what I wanted to do, and I thought everyone knew what they wanted to do as a career when they were at school, but I've met lots of people, including my husband, who didn't know till he was 28. So we are really short of horticulturalists in the sector. We have been for about 20 years. I think partly because people think horticulture, it's very manual, it's something you do if you're not very clever, which is what my careers teacher told me. I was too clever to do it. But actually it's a career that could just take you wherever you wanted to go. I've been to conferences in 5 different countries. I've done a lecture tour in America a few years ago. I think if you find a role in life that you're passionate about, you will stay at it like I've done for 36 years. If you join the Trust, we have apprenticeships in the Trust. So we're just interviewing apprentices at the moment. We're having 22 garden apprentices at the moment. We also have ranger apprentices if people want to get into countryside management, but we also have joinery apprentices, stonemason apprentices, building surveyors. So I'd really recommend looking at the National Trust website and just Google apprenticeships at the National Trust. Lots of opportunities to work for the organisation, but through local parks, through Birmingham City Council have apprenticeships working in the parks. But I'm just really pleased I chose this career. I work a lot indoors now, which I regret. I would much rather be working outdoors, but you can be a garden designer, you can run allotment sites, you can design bedding for city centres, which is what I used to do. You can be a tree officer, you can be a landscape architect, and careers in horticulture and landscape design influence where you live. You don't have to have your environment done to you. You can really contribute, whether that's volunteering, by planting trees, or actually choosing a career that will improve urban lives. And the National Trust website will have some of that information? Yep. So all the apprenticeship information is there, and also it gives small profiles on what's it like to be a head gardener, what's it like to be a gardener or a ranger in the Trust. And if you are qualified or working towards that, you can actually put your details in and it will notify you of jobs as well. Brilliant, and that's an opportunity we would want our young people to take up. Well, brilliant. I think we talked a lot about the project, and I think we are coming close to the end of this show. So Tom, I mean, it's been great having you on the show, as well as you, Pam. Is there any last message you want to give out to to the people who are watching? Only for them to get in touch with us. Like I'd really we really want people to get in touch. The trees are going to be at the Smithfield site, which is free to enter during the Commonwealth Games, so people live in Birmingham, go and check it out. And then likewise, if people want to get involved with Blossom project going forward, just contact us via that email address, but also just to kind of engage with nature in their environment, and come and visit us. Brilliant. Thank you.
Pam, any last message you want to give
I
out?
would say one of the founders of the National Trust, Octavia Hill, said people want 4 things. There's a place to sit, a place to stroll, a place to play, and a place to spend the day in. And if people can, after today, just go away and think, where can I go in my community to sit? And that's when you notice nature, that's when you have those conversations, and that's when you start to see the seasons change. And I think that just find a place to sit. You don't have to dig a hole for a tree just yet, just find a nice place to sit.
Yeah. And in this ever-growing urbanization of our world, I think we need to take care of nature more. And I think we have as I said, a spiritual and moral responsibility to look after nature. So thank you very much to both of you and also to members of our audience. And I think from this conversation today, we can enter into a long-term partnership with our local communities, and so that we, the National Trust, can be encouraged and motivated more to do more and do more work in our communities. So thank you very much, everybody at home, for watching this special show, and hopefully we will come back in a couple of months' time and to let everybody know in terms of progress, how we are progressing.
Happy to.
And so we'll invite you again to share with our communities about the progress. So thank you very much for watching, and good night. Bye-bye.
BeonTV UK, for the community, by the community. www.beontvuk.com.
বার্মিংহামের আশেপাশে কত মার্কেট আছে, ওরিয়েন্টাল সুপার মার্কেট সেরা সবার মাঝে। মাছ মাংস শাক সবজি সব তাজা ভাই, এর লাইগা তো বউয়ের রান্ধনে তো মজাই খায়। ওরিয়েন্টালে বাজার করে এত শান্তি পাই, হাকালুকির হাওরের মতো কারপার কাছে ভাই।